Today is Thursday, March 11th, and welcome to the 8:30 show. I'm KJ, and every Thursday night you'll find me here at 8:30 p.m. on YouTube at Metro Conservative Media. Please hit the subscribe button and give me a thumbs up. At the same time, I'm also live on the Facebook page, Metro Conservative Media. So please like our page, comment. If you're watching right now, share this broadcast, and please comment. Tonight is going to be a lively broadcast, and we would love to get your comments and respond to those. We appreciate all the love and the support. This is a show where I chat with various individuals about their conservative journey. Tonight, I'm doing something a little different. I am chatting with Metro Conservative Media co-founder Jovani Patterson. And basically, we are going to share with you the impetus behind the creation of Metro Conservative Media. We're also going to share previous clips of breakout moments from some of our shows. So specifically this show, the 8:30 show, and then also our weekly show, Pop and Politics. So we'll provide you our impressions and feedback in each clip regarding these breakout moments. All right. So how's it going, Jovani?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
I don't know how many people know like I'm behind the scenes.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. I was just gonna say that. I was like, you the man, the myth, people don't really know that you're like really behind the scenes and making a lot of this happen. So definitely that's why this show is needed tonight, so people can understand that and kind of find out how we started this.
Yeah.
So if you want to begin, or I can begin, we can first just talk about why Metro Conservative Media. Why is Metro Conservative Media a needed voice, a necessary voice?
So yeah, I think we had to be an outlet that's not the typical conservative media like Fox News, like OEN or some of the other traditional like conservative outlets. We want to show like it's cool to be a conservative, and plus there's not a lot of conservatism based in urban environments. So the whole idea about being conservative, it's like Metro and conservative are oxymorons in the in the way things are perceived and connotated. So we want to break that idea that you can be conservative and live in the city. Like you can be conservative and like to rap, or like living in urban environments next to one another. Like it's just all about having the values, and conservatives are next door. Like that's to me what it means, and it's nothing to be afraid of if you're conservative in urban environments. So to me, that's what we want to bring forth and set forth as an idea.
Yeah, you hit it in a nutshell right there. I totally agree. Again, like you said, we want to bring this mainstream, and I don't see anything like what we're doing out there in the mainstream.
No.
Most of the conservative shows are kind of stuffy and like straight laced. And so we want to fill that space where it's different people, regular everyday people, and funny and intellectual, and really just having a good time. But like you said, we believe in conservatism and certain ideas.
It's fun. Like being a conservative is fun. It's not like it's I don't know. It's just fun, and just being around, at least during this, the election cycle and everything like that. Just the people that we've been around, as far as it's not angry, it's all love everywhere we go. Mm-hmm. Just the environment. Granted, every crowd has its bad apples, but just the support and love and the prayer you get from people you meet. And I always say conservatives just are the most beautiful people inside and out. So it's just been fun.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. And just like you said, and we'll talk about this in one of the clips, but we talk about how, specifically the Black church is so in the Democratic pocket, and it always makes me wonder about that, because when we do go to some of these conservative events, there are so many people of faith, and it's just nice to just freely talk about it. Yeah.
Yep.
And you're not judged. And again, I've said this on several different shows before, people will pray with you, you can talk about God, and people aren't looking down on you. And it's people that may not believe in God. It's people that have all different types of faith, but it's just like, okay, that's cool. What else is there about you? It's not the thing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as far as what our show, like, it shows now. So make sure, first off, make sure you all check out all the Much on Conservative Media content right now. I mean, we got 8:30 show, which is this show, Poppin' Politics, which is the show that puts the view to shame. And then also, we got the podcast, called Great Thoughts Matter.
Yeah.
That's out now, and the season 2 is coming pretty soon. So check out all of our content.
Talk a little bit about Great Thoughts Matter, just briefly, if you could just share a little bit about that. As far as what's the basis of the show. So
Great Thoughts Matter is the whole idea behind the podcast is really just to get people to think for themselves. And the topics are meant to be timeless topics, so it doesn't cover really like present day or current events. It's meant to encourage people to really start thinking about these various things words that we use on a normal basis, or themes that we hear on a regular basis, and what they really mean. The first episode we had was called Truth, and what does truth mean? And then, like, when you look in the definition, it means truth. Like, if you look at the definition that's given, it means truth is subjective. So that it goes into, then there is no real truth. It's just what you make it seem. But when you really examine these words, you start to think and realize for yourselves. So that's what that podcast is about. Just really getting people to inspect. The hosts don't expect you to agree with them, but it's just that a show just to get you thinking about these things.
Mm-hmm. All right. And that's what we need. We need critical thinking, deeper thinking, because right now we have a lot of surface stuff, even with reading, the news. People don't read an actual article. They just look at the headline and maybe read the first couple of sentences. So digging a little deeper is definitely something I feel is needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you were supposed to come on the show at one point in time, weren't you?
I was. I've listened to it, but I didn't know I was invited, but I would love to go on the show. Yeah.
I think we got to get you on that show at one point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would love to come on.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to get into some of these clips?
Yeah. So like we said at the top of the show, we want to just briefly go through a couple of show clips. And like we said, just to kind of highlight some of the breakout moments, and then just discuss the moment as far as what we got out of it. Because that's what I found is just hosting these shows. I have really learned a lot, especially talking with certain guests. I have a lot of aha moments, and so, but I don't necessarily get a chance to talk about those moments afterwards, because I'm just so in tune to the guests. So, yeah.
So which one you want to play first?
Oh, okay. Let's see here. You can go with if you have it up, the Yana Pomerantz. Is socialism more equitable than capitalism?
All right, yeah, hold on, I got you.
That. Yeah, and younger than me, but he was talking about looking into socialism, and he was saying it's just a much fairer practice. And so, what do you say to people who say that? Because that's what the people say. We have people living on the streets. We're supposed to be the most wealthy country wealthiest country in the world, and we have all these homeless people. And you look at LA, you have this huge homeless population there. Right here in Baltimore City, we have homeless people living in the downtown area. And socialism would equal everything out and provide them with housing and provide them with transportation and food. What do you say to that? Because when you talk about it or on paper, it looks good.
Well, what I would say is, what do these people mean by fair? Because when you're forcing somebody to take care of somebody else, that's not fair. People have to desire and want to help. And we actually have a lot of people who are interested in helping their communities. And when people have the means, Americans are very generous. And we're able to help our communities. But by putting the government in control of it, what's happening is we're actually going to be feeding the people who are in control of distributing the money, who have jobs. Basically, we're paying for their salaries for people who are working in the welfare system. We're paying their salaries, and for them to then decide how this money is being distributed. And when you're just throwing money at a problem, it doesn't necessarily fix the problem. And so I think that it's not fair when you're forcing a person to give up part of their income to something they might not really support, to a program that they may not support. And there should be avenues for people to be able to get together and support their communities on a local level. That can actually work. Otherwise, people will become disinterested in helping anyone because you're just putting the problem onto the government. You're just saying, well, the government will fix it. And we've been doing that for a while, and it doesn't look like it's fixing much.
Yeah. And
that was one of my favorite interviews.
Yeah. It was eye-opening because, and just so we, kind of set this up for people who may not have seen it, that was Yana Pomerantz, and her family, and she lived in a socialist communist country, Belarus, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she's an academic now. She's a teacher or a professor, she was at the time. And she was just basically explaining how she's seeing a lot of commonalities in where she came from, the socialist communist country, and here. And so you hear that a lot. It's just like I said, you hear people say, well, socialism is fairer. But what she said kind of sunk in with me, because throwing money at people or providing the money does not take people out of poverty.
Right. I mean, we see that in Baltimore all the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're right. Yeah. And so what it does, it makes people dependent on that government, then giving them the power over their lives.
Yep.
So what happens when the government runs out of money, or the government decides, well, you don't need this, or you don't need this amount of money, you can live off of this amount of money. Because you're putting that power in their hands.
Yep. Absolutely. You're absolutely right.
But people don't realize that.
I don't know why. And then I remember she was talking about too how people will, like, how her family comes from it, and like, so she has real world experience about it, and then people will discredit her real world experience, like, because of the theory, because what they believed or were taught in college. Like, if she says coming from a socialist country that socialism doesn't work, throwing money at these problems doesn't work, we've tried it, my family read from it, my family ran from that, and when people here say, well, we need to be more socialist, we need to be more like a socialist country, and they're telling her in her face, like, you don't know what you're talking about. Right? Yeah. Like, she said that in one of the interviews. It was amazing. And what she said too is when you give people or when people are allowed to make decisions more with their money, they do what's best for like within a community. So, you know, if someone, their neighbor needs help, they're more inclined to do it. But if you're saying it disincentivizes people from helping, if you're saying, hey, well, I pay extra in taxes, so the government I'm doing my part, and the government's supposed to take care of it, but the government is never good at running anything. And that's what we're supposed to put our faith in. But when you do that, it's almost like you're dismissing everybody else, like everything else. So I give my money to the government, so I don't have to help this person right here.
I see what you're saying.
Because I gave my money to the government. Like, and it really disincentivizes the community, and you know, in lack of a better way to put it, destroys communities, because you're now saying, hey, you're no longer responsible because we're taking your money anyway. So because we take your money, we'll take the responsibility, even though we don't know what we're doing and the best way to use your money.
Right. And that's the key right there, because the way you're going to use the money may not be what I'm going to use. Your quality of life or quality of anything may be different than what I feel is quality. And something you said yesterday kind of stuck with me, because it was on the same line. You were saying, this is not the function of government.
Yeah.
It's not meant to do this.
Yeah. We got to go back to the basic functions of government and what we're supposed to do. Like, I've been lately reading to my kids the Constitution of the United States, the Direct Declaration of Independence. You know, understanding how fundamentally blessed we are just to be an American, and what that means. You know, promoting the safety and the general welfare of the country. You know, that's the basic needs for our government. You know, and there's some things that benefits us all, like, you know, the roads and you know, stuff like that. But when we're saying our government is supposed to be instrumental in making the day-to-day decisions of our lives, then we're saying we don't know what we're doing. Right. And we see that in Baltimore City. And that interview last night on Poppin' Politics, there's just the debate between and maybe we'll get to that clip. But the argument was that the people in the community don't know, and they don't have the tools, and they don't have this and that, and they don't have the experience in city government to chime in or to say anything about it, or say anything about how it's run and how bad it is, or things like that. When what happened is our government is constantly telling us that you don't know, you need the expert. And the Black church does this too. The Black church says, you know, we're the experts on God. You know, you need to come to me, the pastor, to get it. And you know, that's the only way, right? What these people are doing are putting themselves on the pedestal. So we have to come to them and beg to them. They're the keepers of all things that people need. And everyone else that's not them are just, you know, peasants. Like, you know, you can't make a decision for yourself. You know, you can't interpret the Bible for yourself. You know, you can't do these things, when we're essentially releasing individual agency. Right.
And it goes back, and I just will say this, and then we can move on. It goes back to even like the New Deal. What was it called? The Great New Deal, or
Green New Deal?
The Green New Deal.
Yeah.
So, you know, people don't realize that thing was eventually saying people could only have a certain size house, a certain amount of cars. And this is what I was trying to explain to my dad, because, you know, he's pushing this whole thing. And my dad loves his cars. He loves his space. He likes quality stuff. And I'm sitting here trying to explain to him, you know, if this is the route we're going, you're not going to be able to have all this. You know, people are going to start mandating that, you know, if you have a certain amount of people in your household, you only have a certain amount of cars and a certain type of car.
Yep.
And it goes against everything he believes in, because he's a hard worker. He's worked hard. You know, my stepmom has worked hard. And so they believe, if I work hard, then I should reap the rewards of my work, which
Wow.
it makes sense,
Yeah.
But you have this thing, it goes against everything that they believe. But people, and I've said this before, are voting against their interests.
Right. So I want to see if we can do this, because this is probably pretty cool. There is a comment here I want to actually put on the screen here, and we can respond to this. So GH on YouTube says, I'm curious, why do conservatives support giving money back in the form of tax cuts, but not in the form of relief? Isn't money going back to the citizens the goal of conservatives? So I do want to address this, because I think this is an excellent question. So yes, I do believe, having more money in the hands of citizens, and I'm gonna leave this up here. Having more money in the hands of citizens is a great thing. But to me, a stimulus package or relief to me is an admission from the federal government that we didn't know what to do with your money. So here it is. So here we're giving it back to you, right? But also there was so much more money in this $1.9 trillion package that's being passed that is not going back to the American people. So what tax cuts means is the government doesn't get the money in the first place. You earn the money, you keep the money, you do what's best in your community and your family and your neighborhood. What relief in this form is, we're saying, hey, the government got the money. They didn't know what to do with it. So they're saying, hey, why don't we give it back to the people? Because the free market economy is what we need to have going right now. Not, the way the government is going to spend money. But even that, it's weird, because again, the government giving money back to the people is saying, we took too much money from you and we didn't know what to do with it. We couldn't make a decision with how to use the money. So here you go. Right.
And that's the stimulus, or is that the tax cut? Because I'm a little confused too.
So tax cuts are, just not paying as much in taxes, right?
Right.
So you keep your money, so you get paid, you get your salary or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The government just doesn't take as much money from you.
Right.
Right. But the stimulus is saying, hey, this is government money that we had, and the only way government gets money,
and honestly, it's actually money they don't have. Because if you talk about this stimulus package that they're doing now, I think was it trillions of dollars. This is money that hasn't even been made yet.
Yeah. So that's the other part of it too, is, we're just printing money, which devalues the money that we have, and it then again makes things cost more. So it really doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that's great question, GH. Great question. Keep them coming. Thanks for watching.
Yeah. So we want to go to another clip.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me see here. The next one I have is the one with Bevelyn Beatty and Edame. Christians need to die to the culture.
Okay. Yeah. Let me
do that one or skip it? We'll go to another one.
That's fine.
Okay.
I'm not behind the scenes on this one.
Right. Yeah. So and on this one, you can go. I'm not sure if it starts out like this or not, but you can go right into what she says.
All right, hold on.
I think it starts with what she says.
All right, here we go. Let me pull it up here. I think I got it.
And one thing I want to ask you on that, as far as now, when you go into, I said you. Oh, stay with this. Stay with this. Yeah, they are pushing the Democratic agenda. Yeah. You can't go in. Yeah, you can't go in these churches.
First, you crack it up. There it is.
Yeah.
Republican. They don't want anything to do with it. Either they don't talk about it, or if they do talk about it, they're telling you pretty much to vote for these Democratic policies. And these are people who claim to be Bible reading people. Why do you think, where is the disconnect there as far as why are we Christian Black people, or people who claim to be Christian, so aligned
with the Democrat Party.
It's so trippy. It's like African Americans have chosen to compromise through their culture. And I'm gonna be honest with you, Black people do it all the time. Even Africans, less than us though. But Black people have a tendency to compromise due to their culture. Let me explain that. Let's back to welfare thing. Most Africans never grew up on welfare because they grew up in they don't live in socialist countries. Listen, if you don't work, you don't eat. The government ain't got nothing for you. So Africans come from nations where they have to pray, they have to believe in the Lord, and they have to work from day to night for a meal, and they have to do it the next day and the next day and the next day to survive. So they come to America with this work ethic. You tell an African family telling another African family, I got a welfare check, they're gonna look at you like, oh, or what? You welfare? They frown upon it when they come to this nation because they understand work ethic because of what they had to go through in their own country, right? So culturally, they're not gonna co-sign a cousin that's scamming the system. They're just not going to do that. That's why you see when Africans get here, they got restaurants, businesses, things like that. They're going to work to make it happen. Now, this is the thing when it comes to the church. The reality is this, and I've seen this all the time. The enemy has kept Black people suppressed by the color of their skin because we worship it. When a Muslim accepts Jesus Christ, or Islamic.
You can, if you want, you can stop it here. I just want to hear that point that she made about how we as an ethnicity, Black people, have chosen to compromise through our culture, through our skin color. That hit me so hard when she said that, because I never thought about it like that. And then after re-watching that clip today, it made me kind of go back to Meghan Markle. Because you have so many Black people that are, fixated by this woman, all because, she's mixed race and she's claiming racism. They had on there, I think it was Essence or somewhere, they were talking about how, Black women should be supporting her because, I can't remember the headline, but it was something about why we need to support her. And it had to do with our skin color. No. Look at the facts. There were so many inconsistencies with that interview. So many inconsistencies with, if you just look at the interview and you take out race and everything, the fact that they had so many inconsistencies that have been proven to be false, why would I believe this woman?
I mean, I don't know. Like, we do have to, I don't know, just like start looking at the facts of situations. And even like the outrage of everything socially now is really based on, color.
Right.
Like,
soon as you say something about race. Now, and this is maybe controversial. First of all, let me just be full disclosure. I never liked Meghan Markle. Before all this, and my family knows about it, I never liked her. But before we have all this, she put all this race stuff in it. I'm not even gonna say it. But I mean, right now we have her where she is talking about race and talking about inequity. Has she ever been involved in the Black community? And this is what kind of got me, like, because I remember when it first was rumored that she was dating Prince Harry. Okay. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I went to her Instagram page. This was before people were buzzing about it and everything. She did not have one person of color on her Instagram page. Okay. Nobody. You couldn't even find her mother really on there much. Okay.
Is her mom Black or her father?
Yeah, her mother is Black and her father is white. But she had no friends of color. She did nothing with people of color. She didn't even have Serena on there at the time. Okay. Now all of a sudden, she's invested in the Black community, and she's hollering about racism. Not to say just because she didn't have any Black friends, she can't be a victim of racism. But it seems very what's the word? Not coincidental. Is it coincidental that now she's bringing up this race? Say again? Convenient, right? Convenient. She's bringing up this race stuff, and she never had anything to do with Black people. And it wasn't like she wasn't posting. She was very active on her social media, but she never was around Black people. She straightens her hair. You don't even see a kink in her hair anymore. And I'm telling you, this might not be right for me to say. I'm sorry if it is. I don't want to offend anybody. But to me, it's just like she has pretty much literally straightened the kink out of her hair.
It's crazy because I think now, I think Democrats do a phenomenal job about this. It's all about marketing, right? This buzzword now will just get you instant views, instant clout, instant credibility, instant shares. If your Black Lives Matter, you'll get donations and everything like that. It's all about marketing, and this, what I think with this Bevelin Beatty clip is so powerful, because if you die to the culture, like, it doesn't affect you anymore. So this marketing plan, this mass marketing plot against you, it can't affect you anymore, because that's not the big neon sign you see in your brain anymore, right? If you say Black racism to most Black people, oh man, they identify with the struggle, right? They identify, it is racist. A white man, when it just clearly negates having to look at facts. I mean, we see with all the Black Lives Matter cases, we see with even now with the Meghan Markle stuff, you just cry racism. If you got the one drop of Black in you, you can. Yeah,
it's ridiculous. I was watching the clip earlier today with from that show, not The View, The Talk, with Cheryl Underwood and Sharon Osbourne, and it just doesn't make sense. Cheryl is talking to Shannon, and Shannon is a friend of Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan, he vocally said he did not believe Meghan Markle's story. Yep. And again, he never said anything about racism. I saw the interview. He didn't mention anything about being a racist, or I couldn't find anything he said that was racist. He just said he did not believe Meghan Markle.
Well, just being white makes you racist now.
Well, not only that, it wasn't even that. They were trying to accuse him of being racist because he disagreed with her.
Well, he's white.
Right. He's a white man who disagreed with her narrative. And again, her narrative has holes. They've come out and substantiated things that she said were incorrect. He said that spoiled brat, Harry, said things that were incorrect. And so this is, again, it starts to poke holes. I mean, anybody that's watched, TV, SUV, or any type of crime drama, you start to lose credibility when we can find holes in your story. Nothing to do with race. It's just that you are not believable. And he's a racist because he doesn't believe her.
Yeah. Listen, it doesn't make sense.
And we as Black women are supposed to support her because now she's Black. I mean,
well, you're racist now, because if you don't support her, you're racist.
Right.
So let's make this. Can somebody clip this? Metro Conservative Media co-founder calls other Metro Conservative Media co-founder racist.
That would make big sense. Yeah, but that's where we're probably going to go.
Yeah,
you probably can't. You can be racist as a person of color, but I don't know. This is crazy. But no, again,
prejudice
we
plus
need to
power.
Die. Right. But we need to die to our culture. We need to die. And I'm speaking of people of faith, Christians. Bible believers. We need to die to the culture, and we need to die to our race, because honestly, we are followers of Jesus. That's the only thing that really is supposed to matter.
Yeah. So one thing that to speak to that, I think people lack patience. Like with everything, we should all have a wait and see attitude. Just to wait till the facts come out, and it's easy because people want you to take their side like immediately. Like, this happened, join me, and I was offended. Like, just join me. Right? People want you to take their side almost immediately after something happens, and when we really have to take a step back and just wait to the facts. And I think one of the gifts that one of the just biggest gifts that we can employ is just having patience, and just waiting for all the facts. No matter how close you are to the situation, you still have to wait for the facts to come out.
That's true. And we can still be sympathetic and empathetic with people's plight, with people's story.
Yeah.
Because honestly, when I heard her and anybody, when you initially hear something that's tragic, that's sad, that seems to be an injustice,
mm-hmm.
we are going to be empathetic. We're going to be sympathetic, even though I don't really care for her as a woman, as an actress. I'm still sympathetic to what she was stating, but then again, like I said, I started to see some things after the interview aired, and it just didn't make sense. So we're all entitled to our opinions, but it doesn't make you a racist if you disagree.
Yeah, and that's one of that's one of the foundations of our country, and the reason we left other countries, right, is you want to be able to say what you need to say. There may be, you might not have a friend after you say what you said, but you shouldn't be, chastised or punished, for freely speaking.
Mm-hmm. That's right. All right. You want to move on to the next clip?
I'm gonna surprise you with this one.
Okay, you go ahead.
This the one that get us banned.
Ooh, oh yeah.
Pre-bleeds show men can menstruate too.
Right. So now they're trying to push this agenda that people menstruate.
Totally upside down.
Right. So people menstruate.
I just want to say, and I know we talked about this before, but there's a lot of transgender individuals that are actually assaulted by that. So I think it's sad when lobbyists because they don't share these views, right? The definition of being a trans means you are transitioning from one gender to the other gender.
And when you say that there is no difference, you erase the trans identity. Blair White has talked about this, other activists have talked about
trust
it.
me.
You either want genders or you don't.
So we have to go through, and I know they're talking about the girl.
All right.
Yeah, this was major because a lot of people didn't even know the phenomenon of free bleeding.
Yeah.
But they did had a whole expose in the magazines showing trans men, trans men topless, and they've had their breasts removed, and they still had their periods.
Yeah. And
they had on boxer briefs, with the period bleeding out. Yeah, menstruation. And so this was to raise awareness of. They made the campaign. They titled it "People Bleed." So now we're taking away the fact that women are the only ones that can physically menstruate. Now they're saying people bleed because trans men may still have periods.
I'm telling you, this is probably the most uncomfortable moment for me as a producer.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna lie about this. Like, why am I wanted to burn my computer after after getting the material ready for that episode. I really wanted to burn my computer, and my eyes for that matter. But I mean, it's really sad what people are going through these days, and what the lies that we're just going along with people. Like people, I generally believe some people, people need help. Like there's there's people that like truly are in need of help in a lot of these situations, but we've essentially rebranded these situations to make it seem like, well, this is normal. Like we've normalized it to the point where it's still not beneficial to the psyche and the mindset of these people. Because the suicide rate is still what it is among trans people. It's not, general acceptance isn't saving people. Like we have to tell the truth about what things are, and we can't get away from that.
No, and that's what we're trying to get away from.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. No matter what the issue is, whether you're dealing with gender issues, promiscuity, if you're not true to yourself, and see they change it because they say the truth to being true to yourself is the transgender transition. Mm-hmm. But that is not. It's not. And we can see it, just like you mentioned, with the suicide rates that haven't gone down. And you're still seeing people who want to transition back to their biological gender. Yep. And now they're trying to push it on the children. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. Yeah. And then this whole campaign, like what we saw, trying to normalize the new phrases, people bleed, men, people, it's no longer women nurse, men, people nurse, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest harm in this is the point you made about just forcing it down on children. Mm-hmm. I mean, kids already go through enough, in what we're dealing with now, but kids should be being brought up in the most I get the best way I could put it, the most free environment for them to grow as individuals themselves. Not particularly forcing like specific propaganda, ideologies on the kids. Like just let them learn, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Like let them grow into the crafts or creativity they want to be. We're so focused on trying to shape them to accept this particular idea or this culture, so to speak, that we don't let the kids be kids. And that's why this is really, really important, because it's all based on sex. Like, why are we forcing sexual related content on younger and younger ages? Like, it shouldn't be. And these, Hannah Lynn, and that you guys got to watch that full episode. That's I forget which episode that was. But in that episode,
she broke it down.
She got really worked up. She got really worked up about it because, these are people with mental challenges, and now they've physically altered themselves to the point of a lot of times deeper depression. Right? You now, cut off your breasts, or you cut off your male parts, and then at some point in time you want to go back, and now they're wanting to do these puberty blockers for the younger and younger kids, and to the point where they're saying kids, you don't have to consent with your parents to get treatment at school, right? So you're encouraging people to make life-altering decisions physically from themselves at younger and younger ages, when kids, shouldn't even be worried about that at all.
No, yeah.
And the other part of it is, with I think Hannah Lynn is brilliant at making these arguments, because she also talks about how it's really destroying what women are, right? So you have the feminist movement who says, we're women, we want equality and all the things that women deserve. But then you also have the feminists that are trying to get rights for trans, which are essentially men that have become women. And then you're just erasing women altogether by just saying people.
Right.
So it's like, how do you have female empowerment, but then erase that women exist altogether?
It's a movement that's been pretty much going on for a while now. I remember like it was yesterday. I think it was about 5 years ago. I was listening to the Glenn Beck show, and he talked about it. I think he was like one of the first people to kind of pretty much talk about this movement, this transhumanism movement, to where and we're sort of in the beginning stages, but he identified it as eventually they want to push us towards a combination of AI and humans. Mm-hmm. So in order to do that, we have to erase gender, because then you become, it's no gender, it's no man, there's no woman, it's just whatever it's going to be. And then everyone is fluid. And then the next phase would be to incorporate robots, AI into it, because AI really is no male, no female gender. It's just, a robot. So that's where they're trying to push us to. And you can see it clear as day. And then they're pushing it on these children. And that's why they said we have these false numbers of females, middle school, prepubescent girls who now are saying they want to be boys. Because if you remember, you're in middle school or you're going through puberty, you don't like yourself, you feel like you're ugly or you're not attractive, your body is going through changes. And now it's just become much easier to say, maybe I should be a boy. Mm-hmm. And it's not authentic. It's not something that would, was something that they probably should be saying permanently. But then these parents are pushing them to do it. Yeah. It makes no sense.
I remember there was one girl I was dating back in the day. And I joke sometimes because I say this is how I became a conservative. Wow. There was this girl I was dating at one point in time. And she was on her like liberal kick or whatever. And, we was talking about children. She's like, when I have children, I think I'm gonna raise my kids gender neutral. I'm like, yeah. I think we're done here. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that set me off. And I wasn't even, conservative at the point. I wasn't, I don't think I was ever like really liberal to that degree, but I'm like, look, if I'm having a son, I'm gonna let the little boy be a boy, and my daughter, my girl, I'm gonna let my little girl be a girl. That's it. Let them grow into who they are, who they are going to be.
Yeah, same here. And it's a really good book called, I think it's Love Thy Body. And it's a woman who's, I would love to get her on the show. I can't remember her name for now, but I follow her on social media. And she's like a specialist in this. She has people that come to her who have transitioned and have transitioned back. And she talks about how we don't give enough importance or enough emphasis on our bodies. Even in the Bible, we're taught initially in churches, they're saying, oh, it's just a vessel. But if you look deeper into the Bible, God says our body is our temple. Mm-hmm. We are supposed to take, it's important the way we're born. And so even the way you move, all this is part of you. And it's just it's heartbreaking to hear people who don't feel like they are in the correct body.
Yeah. It's people go through different traumas, and what happens is there's something in them that they identify with, that they have to overcome. And what they identify with manifests itself in different ways. to their detriment. You know, some people it could be an overuse of drugs or alcohol or what have you. Some people it's just mental. You know, maybe they work too much or just lazy. But there's always something that we have to overcome inside that usually will try to set us up for failure if we don't.
Yeah, you're right, and you have to recognize it.
Yep.
I always tell people, because now everybody wants to smoke weed, and I told them I'm not a good candidate for that because I'm already pretty mellow. Like I sleep, I can go to sleep, the drop of a hat. I am not tightly wound.
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that's real cool, very mellow. So if I started smoking weed, I'd probably be some stoner person. I'd never get out of the house, I'd be hooked on it. Every time you see me, my eyes will be closed.
Have you ever done it before?
No, I've never smoked weed.
It just make you feel good.
Yeah, but I mean, but a lot of our culture, a lot of people smoke it, and I know people. I've been around people that smoke it, but some people don't need to smoke it because they become the laziest people, and they lose all, energy, all motivation to do anything. And I know people that have to smoke it every day, several times a day. That's a problem.
Yeah,
and they probably shouldn't be because they're already lazy. So I guess that's another topic. But I mean, it's just about knowing yourself, I think.
Yeah.
Knowing your limits, knowing, like we said, we all have vices.
Hold on, I'm about to post this. Hold on. Here we go.
So what's he say? Heavens, yes. So no, Tina. Through all it's natural. Well, I mean, Chris, I could see Chris smoking because he seems tightly wound. I remember when we were at that what was it, that outdoor event, and there were several women around, and he was like a dog in heat, and he was just so amped about these women, like he had never seen a woman before.
You talking about Chris Anderson?
Actually, yeah. Oh. And actually, when that day, I'm thinking to myself, like, he needs something to relax him. I can see him smoking weed. I can see it.
Oh my gosh. He said, hold on. He responded.
Wow, Chris.
Oh my God.
Okay. I am though. I am a mofo. Indeed.
Do you like Rofo? You don't like Royal Farms chicken?
What?
You don't like Royal Farms chicken? Rofo?
Oh yeah, I do. I love Royal Farms chicken.
That's Rofo.
I've never heard it called Rofo.
It's on the box.
It is?
Yes.
I've
Rofo. Oh my gosh.
Really?
You never seen so you ain't know what I was talking about.
I've never seen anybody called Rofo.
It's Royal Farms.
Yeah, I know Royal Farms. I've never heard anybody say Rofo. Anyway. All right.
Man, where you live?
I don't believe that. Unless it's a West Side thing.
Ain't no, well, it's a couple Royal Farms now on the West Side, but it used to not be any Royal Farms on the West Side.
So where'd you first hear the phrase?
At Royal Farms.
Oh, was it like in Dundalk?
No, it's every one of them. Rofo chicken.
I never heard it. And I used to get Royal Farms for every party I would go to. I'll bring Royal Farms chicken.
You wear glasses, right? Yeah, you do. Oh man, see, conservatives we can have fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's no hate here.
Yeah, no hate.
So we're way over 30 minutes.
All right. Let me see. Do we have time for one more?
Yeah, which one you want?
I'll let you choose.
I chose the last one.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let's go with my boy Malik Abdul.
All right, good. That was the one I hope you was gonna say.
Oh, good.
All right, here we go.
I'll say it anyway because hey, it's me. But here's the reality. We know that Black people are disproportionately shot at a higher rate than white people. But in numbers, police officers killed last year more white people than Black people. For Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo and many of the others, actually, and not even them, Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden, and now Nancy Pelosi have pushed this notion that, but if they were Black. I resent it, I reject it, and I think it's irresponsible because look at what we know as far as what if they had been Black. The Black Lives Matter protests were a lot of Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people. It was truly a melting pot of what America is. It wasn't just Black people out there. I did my own digging, my own research, and I was unable to find a single Black person or a single person who was killed at the hand of law enforcement throughout either of the summer's Black Lives Matter protests. I don't know of any situation where a person was actually killed by law enforcement. So this assumption that if they had been Black, then they may have been, well, that's not actually based on anything that we have. And I'm a data person. If you can show me that the police were out there killing Black people, shooting Black people, then sure, I'll buy that. But what we saw here and last Wednesday, we know that the young lady who was actually killed, she was white. We know that the police officer who was unfortunately killed was white. We know that they were not only shot, they were not only beaten with batons, they were gassed. These are similar things that happened during the Black Lives Matter protests, with the exception of law enforcement actually killing someone. And I think it's very dangerous for us to have this conversation of dangerous and disingenuous for us to have the what if they were Black conversation, because what we're actually saying is we want them to treat we want the law enforcement to treat the people who stormed the Capitol based on this almost like a fairy tale perception of what we have as far as the interaction between the police and Black Lives Matter protests. There were some things that police did not get right.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is kind of what we were talking about before the show started. The left paints these narratives that are not based on any fact. And again, like he mentioned, so there was this narrative. A lot of people said it. Even I think Catalina said something similar last night. If they were Black, you can't relate because you're white. If they were Black, same narrative was going around during the Capitol protest. Oh, if they were Black, they would have been shooting everyone, and it would have been a bloodbath. And you look at the protest over the summer by BLM, and as Malik said, and I still don't know of anyone that was killed by police officers, by law enforcement during the summer of unrest.
The summer of love. You're gonna get us banned if you say unrest.
Right. Yeah, but it's the truth.
It is.
But they kept. All you hear is, but the whole time you had the Capitol riot, the Capitol insurrection, or you kept the Capitol protest riots, whatever you want to call it. People would say, "Oh yeah, they're getting this treatment. If they were Black, then they would have been killed and they would have been shot and all this type of stuff." And somebody was shot. Yeah. And nobody was killed during the BLM protests.
Well, I mean, people were killed. They just weren't killed by police.
Right.
Right. If we're honest, an officer was shot and left there in cold blood over a TV. Officer David Dorn. If you remember him, and he was just defending a friend's store. But that's during the protests and everything like that. But there's no outrage about that. If he was black, this was a black police officer that got killed during the Black Lives Matter riots and protests. So I don't know, like it's they're really brilliant in marketing. Like they say you need to stay on task, stay on cue, stay on focus. They're absolutely brilliant at that. You just point and paint this narrative, and you get people singularly focused. And that's how this massive movement starts. It doesn't care about the noise around it. They just have this tunnel vision, laser-like focus on this one thing. And any inkling of that, they're going to say it. So if they were black,
right? Well,
we have evidence of riots.
What happened when they were black?
All summer,
right?
Of when they were black,
Yeah. And again, and then you get caught up on these lies. I would say it's a lie. It's this misinformation, and then they just run with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then create these large narratives that are not based in any type of fact, but people continue to perpetuate these lies. We had it last night with Catalina Bird on the show, who was insisting that Michael Brown was shot with his hands up. That was the narrative that was being pushed and perpetuated, and it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't true.
But
people still say it.
Look, all you have to do is get that first headline news article. There's no follow-up afterward.
None. None.
Like there's just simply no follow-up after. But I want to put this one comment here too, because this should be fun. So Joe Williams on Facebook says, but there's evidence of more policing at BLM rallies than at Proud Boys Unite the Right rallies. So if that's true, then the police did a piss poor job. and it may be true, because I mean, like even here during 2015, on North Avenue, I remember that day, because my daughter used to go to school right by Mondawmin, I remember I picked her up early from school that day, and I'm glad I did. Because if I would have waited 20 more minutes to pick her up, it would have been all chaos over there.
And you're referring to
Freddie Gray.
Freddie Gray.
Yeah.
All right.
And I remember the mayor at the time, she was like, well, stand down and give them room to destroy. There's police out here. Stand
lots of police.
Lots of police. So, Joe, you might be right that there might be evidence of more policing at BLM, but they're not doing anything. And if there are fewer police, let's say at this Proud Boys or Unite the Right, usually there's nothing going on at those rallies. And two, if we're looking at the Capitol events, there's fewer police, but somebody got shot.
Yeah. Yeah. And people don't even go back. Remember the Tea Party? I
mean, I don't have any familiar memories, recollections of them, but I remember people talking.
Yeah, I remember it. I mean, I was at that time, Democrat, diehard Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to, hear about the Tea Party. I never heard about people dying or, you would hear things about, they were saying they were racist, and you had all these people that were, they had rallies too. I remember they used to have these rallies all over the country, but you didn't hear about violence at these rallies. But I just say that to say, to kind of contrast things. It's just, again, it's these narratives that get painted and they're so false and don't have any bearing in truth.
Yeah.
Or if there's a little bit, they just take it and they stretch it to where it has no relevance to what was the factual part of it.
I mean, you can make a narrative and paint the picture, and that, again, that's what media and generally the Democrats and generally, the left are very brilliant at doing. They take this. One, they try to take responsibility for what's going on with you. So they say, "Hey, you don't have to worry about it. We'll take care of it." And the other thing they're good at is really just brilliant marketing. They make it. I mean, even Joe Biden, like let's get Cardi B to come speak instead of someone like Thomas Sowell, or Walter Williams before he passed, or somebody like that. Instead of getting, people that
somebody that can actually make sense,
right? Let's you like the way she looked. She got a butt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, she's a pretty girl. It's a time and place for everything for me. Don't get me wrong. I love to party.
Mm-hmm.
I love hip hop, but I don't want that to guide me as far as economic policy and what my president is using to urge people to vote and all that type. She has her place.
Yeah,
she has a place. This isn't the place, and it goes to show how they think we're so stupid and they don't believe that we have any real intelligence and care about real issues, because if they did, they wouldn't parade this woman who doesn't know anything in our face.
Yep.
She didn't even write her songs. She can't even speak. She just has a good beat and she can go in front of the camera and she can rap. She has some type of skill as far as just getting it out to sound good, but that's it. Half the time you're not even listening to the words, you're listening to the beats.
Yeah.
You're dancing along and stuff. But I mean, again, they just run with these narratives.
Yeah. And I will say, that's one thing that Trump did do well was he was a brilliant marketer.
Yeah.
He knew how to, work the crowd. He knew how to get people to, and he still does, but we need more of that with the idea of, freedom. And this is something I'm starting, I'm gonna be starting now with the Frederick Douglass Foundation. I want to get these. It's similar to Great Thoughts Matter, but these terms that we normally don't talk about now, especially within the Black community, and put them back into the forefront, like freedom and liberty, and just like what do those things truly mean? Because when's the last time you heard a Black person say liberty? Like, we want liberty. Like,
only time you hear it is tax time.
Right, liberty. So, like, it's these words, they mean something. And what Frederick Douglass was standing for was that the words that built that the country was founded on, they had to mean something. And if they mean that for this man over here, they mean them for me if I can read. And the biggest key about wanting to keep the slaves was to keep them ignorant of how to read. Because if you read it for yourself, that the country was founded for you too. Right? When you read that and see it for yourself, you can no longer be a slave. And Frederick Douglass talked about how sometimes he wished he didn't know how to read, because now he has this burden of knowing that he can be a free man because of what the Constitution says and why the country was founded, and versus being ignorant of it.
And that's a crazy thing, because if I could jump in, because to go back to what you said, because now we have this movement to say, the Constitution and these rights that were placed that the country made in the beginning. Now people are saying, well, they didn't relate to Black people. They weren't for us. So, the country is a racist country, and we were built on racism, and this was not made for us. But then you have people like Frederick Douglass and David Walker and all these abolitionists. If they had that thinking and thought that the Constitution and these documents and the way the country was built and created did not pertain to them, we wouldn't be here today.
Right.
We would not be here today. But they felt like, yes, they were going through slavery and they were going through, all these trials and tribulations and were not treated equally. But they knew, the ones who were not ignorant, and when I say ignorant, I mean couldn't read, the ones who could read and found this information realized, hey, this is me. But now you have this movement to say, no, we weren't included in it. And because we weren't included in it, then this country is an awful country.
Yeah.
It's a terrible country.
There's just been this brainwashing is the best word for it. It's just this brainwashing to get people to believe that the words that they see are not really the words that are there. Like I remember I was talking to a friend, about the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. It was like, well, that wasn't written for us. That wasn't written for us. It says all men are created equal, but that wasn't meant for me. But it says all. That all doesn't mean me. I'm like, how in the world can the word all not mean all? And we have people, adults, instead of fighting for the word all to mean all, they rather fight to have themselves excluded from the word all. And that was the difference in the fight, the struggle. Frederick Douglass said, hey, I saw you this word all. I know all means all, like everything, everybody, everywhere. That means all includes me. So why not fight for that? Why not fight for all means me too, instead of all excludes me and try to
fixating on it?
Yeah.
Right. And then fixating on it. Again, what we went through last night, fixating on this. And this is not going to change our predicament or our status right now. Fixating on going back to slavery and how this, all these rules that were made for slaves, what's that got to do with me now? I just didn't understand that. I don't understand thinking. And you have people like that. And I'll be real quick, because even on my job, we'll get certain directives. And you have some people who hear these directives and they'll ask questions. They'll say, oh, well, I don't think that means, I don't think I can do that, or I don't think this pertains to me. And I'm like, it don't say it does. I mean, why are you putting restrictions on yourself? They didn't say you could.
All right.
Until you tell me, and again, until you say to me, this is not for you, or does not pertain to you, it pertains to me.
Yeah. I want to get one more comment up here. It's going to be Joe Williams again. Here we go.
Oh,
so Joe says, do you know Joe? I don't know Joe.
No, I don't know.
So, hey, Joe, welcome thank you for following us. Thank you for your comments as well. He said, then why slavery, Jim Crow, mass incarceration? Slavery was legal across the world, across the globe. And it was I think it was one of those practices that just kind of kept going in America. But America was the first country to abolish it. And when the country was founded and our Constitution was written, it was written with the idea that slavery was going to end. It said all men were created equal. Now, here's what gets me about slavery. And this is what now I take issue even with, like in urban environments and in our communities, is the value of education. Because when people realize that what the word said and what they meant, it was hard to keep a slave a slave. And Frederick Douglass, again, he talks about it where he says, I may be a slave in form, in work or what I do, but I'm not a slave in my mind. And that's what led to that's what ultimately led to his freedom and the freedom of, and led to the ending of slavery, is because now the words have meaning. And what certain groups wanted to do was keep certain people uneducated, because if you didn't know the words existed, then we can still control you. And this is what we see in our urban environments. And you know, this goes right back to Baltimore City, what we have the kid with the 1.13 GPA, you know, and the countless other people that are failing or having similar grades, because it's not just that one child. No. We're keeping these people ignorant of what they can be on purpose, because now when we can say, hey, these people are ignorant, they don't know the rules, they don't know you know, how things work, they don't know the words that are written so that they can, you know, succeed or be all they can be in life, you know, they're still mental slaves, because now they're still going to depend on the government for food, shelter, clothing. They're going to depend on someone else. They're going to essentially live in this cage that is Baltimore City, and feel like they don't have a way out, because the education and the value of education is really what frees the people, right? It frees the people to overcome the slavery, overcome the captivity of just being forced and spoon-fed this one way of thinking. The mass incarceration, you know, you have the people that voted for it, and it's all based on ignorance. Again, it's these big marketing campaigns. You know, right now you see it with HB1 saying, you know, this is voter suppression. Like when you read when you read what the states are trying to do to ensure the election integrity, there's nothing about voter suppression, but HB1 gets marketed as to prevent voter suppression. And when you hear those words, you're like, ding, 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 ding. I need to support HB1 because it's against voter suppression, instead of actually reading what that HB1 is actually going up against. And Jim Crow, let's just talk about the Democrats on that. You know, that was all Democrats. And all the things that you listed here are all Democratic policies. They're all, slavery was, the Democrats wanted slavery to continue. Jim Crow, that was all Democrat policies. You cannot find a single Republican that voted for a Jim Crow policy. And mass incarceration, the same thing. Let's look at Joe Biden.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And one thing, you know, you said that it made me think about the interview we did with Ermin Maradi, is his name? Mm-hmm. And he talked about, it is so hard. Like, we are already predispositioned to be liberal, especially as minorities, African Americans. And we talked about that in, you know, he's Asian American. We talked about in the interview where, you know, our culture pushes it, even now religions pushes it, movies, you know, literature, schools push it, all push it, we're always constantly being pushed towards this liberal philosophy. And so in order for, it's a default, as he mentioned in the interview, that's our default. And so again, in order for us, the rebels, the free thinkers, you know, we have to dig deeper. And once you start digging deeper and look and finding out, this stuff is not for the benefit of myself, my family, or my community.
Yeah. And
so that's when, you know, we said, you know, conservatives are the real rebels, because we have gone against the default, gone against what society pushes us to be, and we have found the truth, and we're living, you know, a life of freedom.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so really telling when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, it goes like, if like far as diet, you realize candy, it tastes good, right? It's, you know, it's yummy, but if you eat too much of it, you know, it makes your stomach hurt, you know, and that's what generally, you know, we like to be fed. We like to be fed what feels good, tastes good, looks good, instead of what's actually good for you or for, you know, for a community. You know, it's very easy to market the stuff that looks good, feel good, tastes good, than it is to, you know, like think about like the whole exercise industry. Like there's liposuction commercials that do a great job advertising, but then there's also the workout commercials that when you see them come on, you're like, oh no, that don't work. You know, I can't do that. You know, they're sweating. I don't want to do that. No.
Right. But it's always a consequence to every decision we make. And I find a lot of times the easier way gives you, it's more consequences when you do take the easier way, or what seems to be the easier way turns out to be the harder way. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, let's get off here. This show's supposed to be 30 minutes, and we're like almost 3 times that.
Yeah, but definitely we appreciate everyone who watched and hung out with us tonight. Hope you come back next Thursday. And then also check us out on Wednesdays when we're the all-girl show, Poppin' Politics. So we really appreciate it.
All right.
Continue with the questions.
Yeah, so we're going to keep doing this. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, follow. Also, you can donate by clicking the where is it? Over there, somewhere over there. Yeah, donate at paypal.me/Metro Conservative. And we appreciate your support. We're going to keep doing this, and it's just the beginning.
Yeah, don't give up on us. Even if you disagree with something that you've heard, challenge us, question us. And again, we would love to have you on the show. So if anyone's watching, or those that are watching, and you have a strong stance on a certain issue, and that's something that we've discussed, and you want to come on the show, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, I'm putting the email in the chat. Hold on.
Okay.
Metro. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, you can send us an email. info@metroconservativemedia.com.
Okay.
But good night, everyone.
Good night.